Supersonic's money transfer is giving you an unbeatable bonanza from now until the end of October. Yes! From now till the end of October, you stand a chance of winning a bag of rice when you receive monies in the Gambia from UK, Europe, USA, Canada and Switzerland with Supersonic's. Yes! Supersonic's money transfer is giving you an unbeatable bonanza from now until the end of October. Yes! From now till the end of October, you stand a chance of winning a bag of rice when you receive monies in the Gambia from UK, Europe, USA, Canada and Switzerland with Supersonic's money transfer. Amazing! So from now till the end of October, every time you receive monies in the Gambia from UK, Europe, USA, Canada and Switzerland, you stand a chance of winning a bag of rice. Only 100 bags available, so hurry now and be part of the 100 lucky winners in this special unbeatable bonanza from now until the end of October with Supersonic's money transfer. Enjoy our safe, fast, reliable and convenient money transfer service with the largest payout network in the Gambia with charges starting from $0. Visit the Google Play Store or the Apple Store today to download the Supersonic's money transfer app and enjoy excellent money transfer services only with Supersonics. The unbeatable bonanza with Supersonics.
If the youth of this country are lazy, what are you doing to change the status quo? Since they constitute 50% of the country's population, the youth play a major role in running the affairs of the country, from sports to politics, education, entrepreneurship, entertainment, health, religion, science. The Youth Bantaba is a platform designed to talk about issues affecting us as well as to celebrate the youth. Join me, Aisa Tukoli, every Friday from 12 to 1 p.m. on Gambian Talents TV. Youth Bantaba Show, celebrating youth of the Gambia.
Welcome back yet to another episode of the Youth Bantaba Show, live and direct here in our studios on Gambian Talents TV, and I am your host Aisa Tukuli. With me today on the Youth Bantaba Show, I have a gentleman who has been supportive when it comes to youth empowerment, who has been the voice of the young people, and he's also representing the young people in this country. But I will not just do anything, I'll just leave him to introduce himself. Welcome to the Youth Bantaba Show, Mr. Darboe.
Thank you very much, Aisa. I am Lamin Darboe, the Executive Director of the Gambia National Youth Council.
Mr. Darboe, tell us your educational background now that we know who you are and your position.
Thank you very much. I would say I've attended Cloro Primary School, later to Bantaba Technical Junior Secondary School, and proceeded to its senior secondary school. So I attended Bantaba Senior Secondary School. Then later proceeded to the Gambia College, where I did my HTC, and later to the University of the Gambia, where I did my undergraduate
studies.
Yes.
How did you become the executive director of the National Youth Council?
Thank you.
When?
Yes. I've been part of National Youth Council for a longer period.
Right.
As a youth worker, I had always been part of groups that are members of National Youth Council. But I would say I rose from my community. I founded a group in my community called Youth for Good Health. And I was also a member of Youth Division, there who are all affiliates of National Youth Council. I rose to the District Youth Committee in Combo East, and also co-founded the Combo East Youth and Children Development Alliance. And from there, I would say I rose to the Regional Youth Committee, where I serve as the secretary to the Regional Youth Committee. I must say during all this period, my experience had been, how do I impact young people? Not just in my community, in my district or region, but even at national level. And after my undergraduate, I decided that before moving on, due to certain other considerations I have and my determination to give back to young people, in one way or the other, I thought I should come to National Youth Council. So by then I was working for Child Fund, local partner, Kairan Union Federation. There was a job opening at the National Youth Council, position of program manager, which I applied. And I went through a rigorous process of shortlisting and interview. And subsequently, I was awarded this position of program manager in 2014. I was a program manager during that period. The executive secretary at the time traveled out of country. And due to one reason or the other, he was not able to be back. And some months later, the position of the executive director was vacant, and the then council, I must say, under the leadership of Fabakar Kale, then, who was chairman of the council, definitely recommended me to government for appointment, for promoting me and appointing me as the head of the institution, as executive director. Yes, that was in 2014.
Okay, so that means that there was no qualifications?
Of course there was, kind of. There was a qualification, a sort of for a profile for who can be the executive director. And the council thought I meet those qualifications. The qualification was looking at undergraduate, and I already got that. Was looking at job experiences of nothing less than 5 years. I already got that. I even passed that. You know, was also looking at different considerations, your interpersonal skills, and of course understanding how council work and all its structures. And they thought I met all those criteria.
Okay, then meaning that you were elected by the government?
No, not elected. I mean the council, which is the board, were the one when the position of my boss was vacant, who actually looking at the profile of the executive director and the requirements, the terms of references, felt I met that, and I would definitely serve a better leader at the council. Then they recommended me to the government for appointment as executive director.
It was a recommendation?
Yes, yes.
Okay, what's the role of the National Youth Council?
All right, let me say the National Youth Council.
Before that, what's the function of the National Youth Council and how was it established?
All right, National Youth Council, I would say, as a council, you know, was established in the year 2000.
Okay.
I would say National Youth Council came one as a recommendation of young people at the 99 National Youth Conference and Festival, NECONF, to government that we need an agency, young people agency, that will actually coordinate and supervise our functions and ensure that our programs are also coordinated, and we have also give us a voice in the way our issues are managed.
All right.
In 2000, I would say National Youth Council became a law. In May, National Youth Council Act was enacted in 2000. And I would say that make National Youth Council an act of parliament, not a youth organization, as we may be thinking. So it's an act of parliament, a public agency. National Youth Council it's the main functions of the National Youth Council is youth empowerment and engagement into public policy formulation, getting the voice of young people on board. It's also basically to conduct researches, to also mobilize resources for young people development, but also to ensure networking nationally and internationally, you know, to coordinate and supervise youth programs in the country, to ensure that they are harmonized towards the implementation of the National Youth Policy. Beyond that also, I would say National Youth Council was also established to ensure that it serves as an interface between government and young people. That council can get government policies and communicate them to young people. And young people concerns and worries and hopes could also be communicated to the government. And I would say we precisely do this through different platforms. One, we sit directly in the senior management of Ministry of Youth and Sports. So we provide direct strategic advice to the government through Ministry of Youth and Sports. Two, we also do this through NECONF, where we get different government entities and agencies and departments to come and directly interface with young people to discuss and share their opinions and ideas and hopes and fears as a constituency. But beyond that also, there are different policies that are in country. We ensure that young people's voice are into the National Youth Policy, but also other sectoral policies that are formulated, which affect young people, to ensure that their voices are part of that. So in short, I would say these are some of the key or main functions of the Council.
All right. Speaking of policies and programs and being an intermediary between the government and the youths, what are some of the achievements that you have made so far under your council, under your administration?
I must say, if I want to enumerate all the achievements we have registered under at the National Youth Council, I would say that it's going to take a whole day. However, I will share some.
Right.
During my tenure at the council, one fundamental achievement I always point to is the fact that we were able to get the council closer to young people. You know, as a public agency, you know, that is established purposely to serve young people. There was a gap, you know, and that was causing some indifference and, of course, legitimacy issues.
Right.
So we had to work so much to ensure that we get the council closer to young people, you know, that they feel this is their council, you know. It is not easy, and it's not an easy task. However, to a greater extent, I think we have succeeded to get the youth organizations that are affiliated to National Youth Council actually feel that this is their council. Secondly, I would also say the role of council is very delicate, because you work with young people, but you also work with government, but you also work with different stakeholders interested in youth development. So we are also able to ensure that the lost glories, I mean the confidence of partners and stakeholders in the council are restored.
Okay.
When I was coming to the council, I must say that even our traditional partners who were with council since 2000 all left. They were not with the council due to one reason or the other. You know, let's say the different UN entities and different stakeholders and partner organizations. So during my tenure, we definitely endeavor to ensure that we restore that confidence and relationship and partnership. That we went to a level that when you reach out to them, partners being the UN system, the NGOs, and even other development partners, NYC become one of their reference organizations that they will refer you to. This is out of deliberate actions or efforts we have put in place to restore the confidence. I must also say beyond that, we are able to actually give NYC a direction in terms of strategic focus. We are able to generate what we call the Gambia Program of Action on Youth, and we have identified about 10 strategic priority areas. And under each of these areas, we have done several activities and actions that are intended to gain definitely impact on the young people. And we are talking about 2020, but in 2019, I knew from our records that we have reached over 300,000 young people
across the country.
with different programs, be it on education, employment and entrepreneurship programs, be it youth leadership and political participation, be it youth migration matters, be it on gender-based violence and sexual reproductive health, be it youth ICT or information technology on innovation programs, be it on environment and climate change programs, or be it access to information or anti-corruption programs, you know, and you name them. We have a whole lot of areas that we actually intervene in. And we did this not just by ourselves or regional structures, but we did this through our national youth organizations also. So I would say we have sustained the legitimacy of the council, get it closer to the people, restore the confidence of partners and stakeholders in the council, and also roll out programs in different components or different priority areas that actually impact the lives of young people across the country.
So you're also working with the sub-youth organizations across the country?
Yes, so our structure is that we have the National Youth Council. The council is, we have a board, and we have the secretariat that I head. But at regional level, we also have regional youth committees. In each region, we have regional youth. In each district, we also have district youth committees in each district.
Perfect.
So, in addition, and also we have youth groups at the village level. But in addition to that, we have registered youth organizations. Like I would say, when I was coming to NYC, we have about 35, 38 youth organizations that we are registered in our database. As I speak today, we have over 182 registered youth organizations across the country. And these are, others are community-based organizations, but others are national youth organizations, definitely. So we work through them to ensure that, one, some of them we work through to ensure they also implement activities and report back to us. Some benefit directly from our own programs. Yeah.
So how are these organizations giving support? Is it financially or what?
All right, registered youth organizations with NYC benefit from the registration in different forms. There are other youth organizations that benefit from technical support. We provide them technical support where necessary. Of course, we are not able to provide this to all the youth organizations, but others benefit from that. There are others who actually benefit financially. You know, I would say we serve as an intermediary for some other organization to receive their donor funding. It passes through us, and we make sure it goes to them also. And we are whole accountable, and we monitor the implementation. We have seen several of those organizations. But again, there are some organizations that also reach out because they need documentation, be it recommendations, appraisals, you know, be it attestations or so. They reach out to us, and we facilitate that. There are some youth organizations who actually need service from third party, and they reach out to us, and we facilitate it. There are some youth organizations who have their events and they need vehicles and they don't have. We have to facilitate it. Sometimes some will even call to say, we have this event, we need media to cover, but we have logistical challenges. Then we arrange media and also provide those logistics. But in short, we enable. Because when you form your youth organization, you have your objectives, you know what you want, you pursue that. But when you are challenged, you reach out to us, we enable and make sure that you go towards your goal. Because we cannot actually assume to take responsibility for the objective of each organization and that we will do it for you. No. We can only enable, we can facilitate, and we can provide certain supports to you as necessary.
I think that is clear. Well, viewers, you are still watching the Youth Bantaba show, live and direct here in our studios, and today my guest is the Executive Director of the National Youth Council, Mr. Lamin Mokendo Darboe. Speaking of that, why do people call you Mokendo?
Maybe you should ask them.
No, you are here, so I have to ask you.
People have different names. Lamin is in short, Lamin is Mokende. When you say Lamin, you're talking about Mokende.
Okay.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Speaking of the youths of this country constitute almost 60 to 67% of the country's population. So, and the rate of unemployment in this country, it's demanding. When you talk about youths that are not unemployed. So as the Secretary General of the National Youth Council and representing the youths, what has your council done so far when it comes to youth employment in this country?
Thank you very much. According to the Labor Force Survey 2018, youths in this country, 15 to 35, constitute about 68.2%. I would say this is the biggest constituency you can find in this country.
Right.
And beyond the numbers, this is a constituency also that forms the majority of our labor force.
Okay.
And this is a constituency that can make any difference in our society. Talk about development, talk about anything. But again, the same labor force survey indicated that 41.5% of this population are unemployed, that they didn't have a job. And this is scary. It's scary. But that is not all scary. What is more scary is the fact that out of this unemployed, 56.8% are not in education, they are not in training, and they are not in employment. Because if you say these young people are not employed, we could say maybe they are going to school. But we are saying 56.8% are not going to school. That is, they are not employed, but they are not going to school. And they are not also in training. Where are they? They are in the streets, they are in our compounds, they are in the markets, they are elsewhere.
Right.
On the beach and everywhere. So we should not definitely be wondering, actually why we find some young people not absolutely doing something. The data are there to speak. This is a huge concern to us as a council. And as I said, based on our mandate, we don't actually we are not an employment creation agency. But we serving as the voice of young people, and we representing their interests. We had worked with them in different platforms to do advocacy, to remind duty bearers, that's government, and of course, including private sector, the need to address this menace. That it has consequences when young people have no job. That without employment for this group of people, almost all our development agendas will be affected negatively for that matter. So we had a series of programs. We work basically with different agencies, different partners, and of course, different youth organizations.
Right.
For example, we work with Ministry of Trade, Industry and Employment, who are responsible for the employment subsector, to ensure that we are able to contribute, get youth voices in the national employment policy and strategy. Of course, I remember we worked with them to go across the country to popularize the labor force survey, but also to do some consultations around the employment policy of the country. Aside that, we work with the Ministry of Agriculture, especially name a project to ensure that young people who are into agriculture, young agripreneurs, we work with NEMA and Gene Gambia to ensure that they have materials and support for their agricultural ventures. We have also worked with NEDI and FASTEP to ensure that young people have different agricultural service. This we have the agri-service centers across the country. But beyond that also, as I speak today, we have Gene also training some young people on with NYC on taxation, and of course also on record keeping. And this is a series of programs. But as part of our Youth Connect program also, we supported some young people who presented innovative business ideas as to what they actually wanted to do to address issues of leadership and employability in the country. We also have our Urban Thinkers Forum, and those who also, young people who propose urban solutions to some of these problems, we also provide them some capital. In addition, we have staffs. We work with Youth Empowerment Project, and we employ some few staffs in the regions who are helping us to mobilize these unemployed young people across the regions to be able to access training programs that are offered by YEP and other tech partners. But in addition to that, we are also facilitating and enabling these young people fill the forms to access the mini grant and mini loan that are being actually managed by NACU at the credit union. But aside from this, I must say that NYC actually work with also, I would say, we establish in collaboration with NEDI, the Youth Chamber of Commerce, to ensure that young entrepreneurs or young businessmen who are in country can come together to articulate their challenges, to provide and share with duty bearers, but of course also are able to come together and provide peer-to-peer mentoring, support and guidance. And I must say this has gone quite positively with their annual trade fairs that they also organize, among others. But on directly at the level of the council, when I was coming to the council, I think I found about 8 to 9 staffs. But as of today, we can boast of having about 23 staffs that are also being employed across the country to provide the much needed services to young people. So we do programs that provide trainings and other opportunities for young people. We also facilitate and link young people to employment or employability programs. But directly we are also able to, due to our different initiatives, being able to create direct employment for young people.
Okay. Let's talk about the productivity and national development, because we know what specifically do you think is the problem when it comes to national development and productivity when it comes to young people? Because you have said the rate of unemployment in this country is demanding, and most of these young people are not working. So what do you think is the specific problem when it comes to national development and productivity?
First, I think most of the young people are working. That is to say, if 41.5 are not working, then it means about 58.9 are working. Okay, so I would say most of them are working. That's 58.1, 58.9 kind of are all working. So, but the number that are not working is still huge.
It is.
It's still a huge number, and this is a cause for concern.
Right.
Looking at the size of our population, and looking at how people depend on employment for different not only productivity, but even for livelihood at family level, kind of. Also understanding that most of these unemployed youths are breadwinners. You know, their unemployment did not only have negative effect on themselves and their families, but of course we all know when young people are not employed, it has a direct effect on society as a whole.
Right.
You know, so I would say the country's response to unemployment for me has not been adequate, and I think that is something we need to look at. This has been a perennial problem. For example, in the 2012 labor force survey, while the national unemployment rate was at 29%, youth unemployment was about 38%.
Okay.
Come down to 2018 national employment around 35%, youth unemployment is at 41.5%. So if you look at this data, you will understand that the strategies we put in place to address unemployment are not definitely working as expected. If they are working, then there are external factors that are undermining the gains, and that we need to look into. And that means still the strategy did not actually cater for those external factors, so the strategy didn't work. So I think fundamentally, state as a duty bearer need to look at how we are able to formulate, not just formulate, but implement strategies that could enable young people to access job, either hired employment or self-employment. And that if these jobs are provided, they are also accounted for. But it's not just be for jobs. This should be decent jobs.
Right.
This should be jobs that young people will do with safety, you know, taking care of occupational safety, their needs and aspirations also being taken care of by this employment. That the jobs are not exploitative, you know. But Again, when we talk about unemployment, we know it has a ripple effect on the economy. When people are employed, they actually are able to pay tax where it is, and that contributes to the economic development. When people are not employed, they don't pay tax. So you are supposed to provide for them. But again, if people are employed, either self-employed or in fact hired employment, they tend to focus, they utilize most of their time on that employment. But if they are not employed, that give them some opportunity to idle. And we would say, or we are told that an idle mind is devil's workshop. And that means different things could happen. They could be involved in different things. They may be actually being inspired or being influenced in one way or the other to do things that we don't think are actually appropriate. So I think youth employment should be given a serious thought, not just a thought, but should be given serious action and follow up to ensure that young people are provided jobs, because they need jobs and the economy needs these young people too.
Supersonic's money transfer is giving you an unbeatable bonanza from now until the end of October. Yes! From now till the end of October, you stand a chance of winning a bag of rice when you receive monies in the Gambia from UK, Europe, USA, Canada, and Switzerland with Supersonic's money transfer. Amazing! So from now till the end of October, every time you receive monies in the Gambia from UK, Europe, USA, Canada, and Switzerland, you stand a chance of winning a bag of rice. Only 100 bags available, so hurry now and be part of the 100 lucky winners in this special unbeatable bonanza from now until the end of October with Supersonic's money transfer. Enjoy our safe, fast, reliable, and convenient money transfer service with the largest payout network in the Gambia with charges starting from $0. Yes! Visit the Google Play Store or the Apple Store today to download the Supersonics Money Transfer app and enjoy excellent money transfer services only with Supersonics. The unbeatable bonanza with Supersonics.
Yafatus Guest House. Yafatus Guest House. dama ne jox leen ma seen noppa yéen ñi nga xam ne ni bëgg ngeen a dem Farafenni nag ñu bari den fay bëgg a dem di xalaat ndax am naa mbokk aw ma mbokk fan laay dem dëkk ak fan laa du dem dëkk seen coono jeex na seen xalaat jeex na te si biir Yafatus Guest House ñu ngi leen fa amal li nga xam ne ni moom mooy c'est ko self container
saala cabinet
ñaari cabinet ak saal
single room
néegi nag nekkul ne la naa jox waaye duñ leen laaj mooy sore naa ñëw indiwaale leen seen yére kase ndaxte yére yi sax foo leen koo def ñu ngi leen ko amal saala cabinet yi bu nekkaa nga am lal bu nooy saal bi ñu ngi ko defar ba mu yaaña toogu yi nekk fa télé bi nekk fa channel bi nekk fa channel bu la neex ngay cuun waaye nag amuñ si loolu rek yéen ñi nga xam ne yéenay dem ak seen famille ak seen njaboot benn nit wala ñaari nit ñu ngi leen fa amal waañ yu baax waañ yu yaaña bagage yi waañ yëpp ñu ngi fa yow yaay xool loo bëgg a togga rek nga teg si gaz bi daal di taal togga lekk sa xol sedda
léegi tamit nag aman lañ leen lii di AC ak ñu nga xam ne fan rek lañ am waaye amuñ si loolu rek ñu ngi leen amal fu nga xam ne foofu ngeen di toog ngeen fiixlu seen xel dal ñu ngi leen amal ndox ak courant 24 hours amuñ si loolu rek njëg bi yomb ba bëgg a dee
fu ñu nekk nag neex a xam ba bëgg a dee si gannaaw gaaraas si base bi foofu sa Farafenni lu néew rek ngay dox am si marché bi jënd loo bëgg delluwaat sa kër ak Yafatus Guest House mun nga noo jokkoo ñun si 790 1355
35 30 489
email si ombay7843@gmail.com si Yafatus Guest House so leen fa demee dinañ leen jox customer care service bu baax seen xolay sedda ba ni ngeen fay jógee Yafatus Guest House Yafatus Guest House lii leen amal yéen ñuy dem Farafenni saay bo leen tëddee nelaw leen ndaxte Yafatus Guest House génne na seen coono bi yëpp fii si biir dëkk bi.
If you believe the youth of this country are lazy, what are you doing to change the status quo? Since they constitute 50% of the country's population, the youth play a major role in running the affairs of the country, from sports to politics, education, entrepreneurship, entertainment, health, religion, science. The Youth Bantaba is a platform designed to talk about issues affecting and as well as to celebrate the youth. Join me, Aisa Tukoli, every Friday from 12 to 1 p.m. on Gambian Talents TV. Youth Bantaba Show, celebrating youth of the Gambia.
Alright, welcome back guys. It's still the Youth Bantaba Show. And today my guest is none other than Lamin Mokendo Darboe. So Lamin, let's talk about the NECOF that you mentioned earlier on. What has NECOF done so far for the youths of this country? Because people said that the funds that are being used for the activities of NECOF can be used to empower young people from different sectors, being it from agriculture, farming, poultry, entrepreneurship. So we featured a young person, Kebatop from Nyomi. He was among those that went to Nyomi and then was in the boat that capsized. And now he's venturing into gardening. And we have seen a whole lot of controversies when we did a post on Keba saying, why not the National Youth Council or the government, before youth of this country will embark on illegal migration, been giving opportunities to empower themselves. So what has NECOF done so far for the youths of this country?
All right, thank you very much. I think the controversy will be there, has been there, and will definitely be there.
Right.
You know, the last time I was asked, I will say, was in, is it June or July, you know, May or June, something like that, when someone asked the same question. We are talking about the next NECOF, and the guy was like, you know, we have NECOF and you have these resolutions, and what happened to these resolutions, you know. So because they are not implemented as expected, then we should just let it go. I say, okay, then that's fine. You know, it's the same thing we could say of United Nations General Assembly. Okay, they go to New York, they have resolution, what happened to them? It's the same thing that could be said of ECOWAS meetings. They meet there in Abuja and say things, what happened? The same thing that could be said even of not only our own parliament also, to say, we have this, what happened? Even our laws that we have, people will say, we have laws, but we are not implementing them and all that stuff. Okay, this is the thing. NECOF as a platform gave a unique opportunity to young people to directly interface with their government, the government they put in place, to tell them their problems, to vent out things that are inside their heart that they didn't have opportunity to share with these government officials. Be it the ministers, be it the directors, be it other stakeholders.
Right.
That's one.
Okay.
Without NECOF, we will yearn for other opportunities to do that. People will always, even always calling on us, we need to make sure that, okay, with the security sector reform, we need to create a platform where young people actually talk to government. When you talk of employment, we will say we need to create a platform where young people talk to government about these issues of employment. You know, when you talk about migration, we'll say we need to create a platform where we engage government. We create this platform, but NECOF is a bigger platform where young people have the opportunity to share this with the duty bearers, be it government and other stakeholders. But it's also a platform where young people themselves interact, socialize, and understand each other. For me, that is quite central. The mere fact that young people from Banjul, from Basse, from Central River region, let's say from Kuntauru, from Koina, from Sandu, from Jiboro, from Katong, from Sibanor, you know, elsewhere could come together without any, you know, considerations, to feel that here we are all Gambians, and all we talk about is the people we represent in this hall. To talk about those concerns, I think to a greater extent contribute to our social cohesion. They know each other, they sympathize each other, they build friendship and they build relationship, and they are able to engage each other even after NECOF, during NECOF and post NECOF. During NECOF, we also have different activities. We have young people who come there in the academic competitions. There are quiz, there are dramas, you know, there are spoken words, and you name them. These young people inspire each other because they come from different regions to come and compete, and they are awarded, and this encourages them to do more. We have young people who participate in the different sporting activities, and all these sporting activities serve as platforms to recruit young talents also, be it volleyball, basketball, athletics, you know, wrestling, and you name them. At those platforms, when we create a platform, these young people, some of them had never got such platforms. NECOF become the only platform they have to showcase their talents to different stakeholders. I mean, at a national level. You would not deny those young people such opportunities. Right. But beyond that, I would say, we have the conference, NECOF resolutions. We have achieved several of NECOF resolutions. From policy formulations to even, like I said earlier, on the establishment of the NOIC, but to different provision of capital, so to speak, you know, in terms of funds, access to capital, you know, and different demands that young people had made. But I must say that when resolutions are made, the intention is how do we ensure we follow through these resolutions. But that doesn't actually mean that without all the resolutions being achieved, we don't need to create the platform again for people to come and evaluate what they have achieved so far and how they can forge ahead. And that's why when we meet in the NECOF 2017, and we were in Basse, in the conference hall, and we are looking at, young people were looking at what had we achieved so far on the resolutions we had made. And we invite the government stakeholders, including NYC, to see what are the gaps, what is the challenge. Often, we are told that we realize that we make resolutions, sometimes they are quite ambitious, which is very good. As a young person, you dream big and you want to see all these things happen. But sometimes they are made at a time when government policies are already formulated. Okay. Or they are made and they are quite ambitious, or they are made but not aligned to government development plans and blueprints. So as a result, sometimes there is a mismatch, we realize. So as a result, what we did, or what's recommended, that right after NECOF, when young people made their resolution, we need to adjust these resolutions, formulate it into the country program of action. And in this process, we need to align it to the country development plan. So as to ensure that we are able to channel investment, properly channel investment. That we know if NECOF resolution, each of those are implemented, they are also contributing to the attainment of the National Development Plan. And we have seen that happen in different facets. We have seen in our reproductive health programs, initiatives we took that contribute to the implementation of the NDP. We have seen with our youth centers, the commitments we have taken at NECOF and the implementation of that, how it led to also the achievement of NDP pillars, you know, and you name them. So this is it. This is the new trajectory we have taken for NECOF. That in each NECOF, it's not about new resolutions. It's about reviewing the country program of action, seeing how far we have gone, and what are the gaps, what are the challenges, and how do we improve on that. So we have 10 priority areas that are in the country program of action that are aligned to the NDP, and of course also aligned to the Sustainable Development Goals and the Africa Agenda 2063, to ensure that they are well focused and we can easily channel investment towards the country program of action.
That's very good. I think it is clear for my viewers to know. And another thing is, like, there was a time in this country where the voice of young people were silent. And for 22 years, we have seen young people were not into political participation in this country, simply because they fear the fear in them when it comes to brutality and other unlawful acts against them. Because one of the things that when I was I was making research and someone was like, ask him this question: what has the council done or do so far when it comes to making sure that these young people won't be in a place whereas they will find themselves very difficult when it comes to sexual violence? That I will come to that later. It's another question of its own. What's the council's stand when it comes to brutality and unlawful acts against young people in this country?
Thank you very much. So first, I will start with the issue of the stakes of young people during the 22 years of Jammeh's regime. You know, sometimes I find it very difficult to, or I find it funny, I will say, when people say for 22 years young people were not actually active in politics.
Only few.
Okay. One fact that remains is that from the ruling party to the opposition parties, throughout the 22 years, the people who run for them, the people who climb on top of gelegeles and fill gelegeles has been young people.
Right.
So that's a fact. We cannot change that narrative. You know, they have been there and they are still there. Of course, we would say when it comes to interests in terms of political positions, it has definitely been, you know, dominated by 8 people. But that doesn't mean that young people were absent. Young people were not absent. Young people were in APRC, young people were in UDP, young people were in NRP, young people were in PDOS, young people were in NCP, all the political parties, young people were in GDC. They were young people. And it's important we don't allow the contribution of those young people to be lost in the narrative, to think that for 22 years young people were not actually on the ground. There were also young political activists across, even during that period.
Right.
In music, in civil society, and of course in other industries, students and you name them. In fact, I would say the first constituency that challenged Jammeh's totalitarianism were young people in 2000 when student uprising. So young people were the first to challenge the status quo, to say we actually demand justice in a democracy with a popular uprising. So the narrative that 22 years young people were not there, they were not seen, all that stuff, I think is just hijacking the contributions of young people.
No, it's not, because
no, they were there.
They were there, but only few were in the picture.
Okay, so they were there in their numbers, because this is not your narrative. This is a narrative that is out there to think that, okay, 22 years young people were not there.
Right.
And I just want for us to be very careful with that. 1. 2, after the change of government, there are different actions, there are different activities that young people contributed to the change of government. Right. You will agree with me. They were not only doing some political activism online, but they were also on the ground to do the real fight and other stuff. And of course, you know, they were also with the coalition, you know, during the campaign trail. But they were also with GDC, they were also with APRC. So you have young people in all these sides, so to speak. So when there was a change of government and we are supposed to go for parliamentary election, the National Youth Council with activists and other youth organizations worked together to launch what we call the Not Too Young to Run.
Yeah, I heard.
And the Not Too Young to Run, we encourage young people to, okay, they were participating, they were involved in their political parties, doing a lot of movements, a lot of engagement, having a lot of fights for their parties and other stuff. But we are telling them now, build interest to hold political offices, you know. Right. And what we did was first, after launching the initiative, we select a team that went around across the country to go, we select a team that been political leaders of all political parties to encourage them to select young people in the parliamentary election. And they give their word that they are also going to consider that. But some said, anyway, we don't have a choice when it comes to young people selection at the regional levels. We have a constituency committee. So we send a team to go around the country to go and meet the local authorities to encourage them to also consider the nomination of young people for their political tickets, party tickets. But we use the opportunity to also encourage young people, even whereas they did not get selected by our parties, to also go maybe independent, but let them actually show interest in terms of political office. That we should move away just from supporting to also do the next level as to going for the political office. So from there, we've also mobilized about 25 young candidates. We mobilize them with their campaign managers, and we train them on responsible political campaign. You know, campaign management. You know, and we are also able to support them with posters, you know, in order so that they can use that for their different campaigns. Alhamdulillah, you know, out of 25, at least we are able to have about 4 to 5 who want seats in the parliament.
Really?
Yes. But aside from that, we have also been into different actions. We had organized after the local government after the National Assembly election, before we go into the local government election, it was very tense, very, very tense. You know, it was having different political interests and other stuff. So we organized the first youth inter-party dialogue on peace, where we get young youth wings of all political parties to discuss with them how do we sustain our peace and democracy. Right after the local government election, we also mobilize young elected local government councillors, and we train them in the Local Government Act. And I must also say that we succeeded in establishing the inter-party youth platform, and of course work with RRI to conduct training for all the regional inter-party youth platforms, so that they can come together as young people to understand that multi-party democracy is good. Multi-party democracy is good for us. That they must not see each other as enemies, but they must see each other as competitors who will have the same interests to serve this country and make it better and great. And often when there are violence, it is the young ones who actually are the forefront of these violences. So while we do that, we also share messages of peace, and we work with different stakeholders to do that. We work with MANEP, we work with RRI, we work with IEC, we work with civic education to do some of those things. So we did that. Aside from that, we have also been involved in a series of different engagement in terms of political leadership, in terms of youth participation in politics and peace building initiatives in the country. So we have done a series of activities around that also.
That's
so we definitely, I would say, stand very firm and very committed to the cause of young people. To say, you know, violation of human rights, whether it is committed on a young person or old person, a woman or a man, we actually condemn it in all its forms. Especially when it happens to a young person. I would say to duty bearers or stakeholders that interact, if you offend old people, if you offend a young person, be prepared, because we are growing. You know, it is a very bad idea to be violating young people, children and youth.
Right.
You know, despite the fact that our violation is totally bad. But I mean, if you do it to these ones, they are growing, they are also going to become parents, they are going to have authority in future and other stuff. You know, I think that become more complex. And I think we had actually stood for against all forms of violation in this country in our own ways. Yeah, thank you.
That is great. We have also seen or heard cases of sexual violence in this country. Are your council aware of this?
That's right.
So what's the council stance on the alleged rape cases of some of our young women and girls in this country so far?
Let me say that we stand with the victim in all its form, in all our might, in all our voice, in all our strength. We cannot by any means be apologetic for that. when there's a violation, like I said earlier on, it's the victim that matters most.
Right.
That we must show solidarity, we must work with this victim to ensure that one, he or she receive justice, but two, to ensure that she recover from that trauma. And I remember that when there were some rape cases and their numbers reported, we were also with the network against gender-based violence to look at means how this could be resolved. Okay. By the way, we are members of that network, and the network has done tremendous well to ensure that victims actually pursue justice, but of course also recover from their trauma.
Okay.
It must be clear, violation in all its forms, especially gender-based violence, are cowardly. You know, you don't expect, I think no society should condone that. And no reasonable, decent human being should condone, you know, violence against women and girls. I mean, violence in itself, much more violence against women and girls. You know, so I think that is something that, for me, I will always say, if you want our society fixed, with all this violence and all these problems that we are talking about, we must not only have laws, but we must implement very stringent laws that protect children and women. If that does not happen, the decency we talk about, we won't have it in our society.
That's true.
Yes.
It's very important because when we heard of these rape cases, numerous rape cases in the Gambia, and still there are the justice system are still not implementing what is expected of them. That caused a whole lot of controversies, because at the end of the day, when you use force or when you use violence against women, it's a crime, not even in the Gambia, but outside world. I think it is condemned in every country, and people should try to adopt the system of giving justice to the actual right person. So what is the stand of your council when it comes to following the process, being made sure that the perpetrators are being held accountable for it?
So I said, okay, let's say we are part of the network against gender-based violence, and they actually handle most of the gender-based violent things. But for us, if they are young people, become our responsibility to accompany them also in the journey. I must confess that we have very, very strong, or I must say that we have very, very strong young female organizations, especially Think Young Women and the Girls Agenda, who are part of the National Youth Council networks. And they had not been behind this. They had not been, they had never relented on these issues of gender-based violence. Right. So I would say the protests that we are organized as a council, we actually join these young people to make their voices heard and louder, for that matter. And beyond that, those who actually, the cases that we are actually at the level of the network against gender-based violence, we provided our full support. The other part you mentioned, which is receiving justice, I mean the legal justice at the level of courts. Also, as activists, I think we have very little to do in the court, but what we have is our voice. And we had actually used our voice to call for justice for the victims. Yeah.
We have seen the coronavirus pandemic hits. It's a global thing, and Gambia, it's not an exception when it comes to the virus. So what has your council done, or what's the role of your council when it comes to playing a role in making sure that the people are well educated and are well informed when it comes to the virus, especially among young people?
Thank you. When COVID-19 was announced around December or November or December, or around January, when the Gambia pick up response, I would say that young people were at the forefront of this fight. Right. Young people pick it up from social media to physical actions in the communities, peer-to-peer led actions, community outreach, and house to house, until when the matter was actually declared a pandemic. Yeah, with that we have seen that we have passed messages that we should little bit slow down, because it's only wise that we don't we spread the message but not the virus. But I must say, as a council, we are part of the risk communication subcommittee of the national response team, and we had also played our little part in this fight. We had conducted in all the regions outreach activities by regional youth committees into different communities, different villages and towns to raise awareness on coronavirus. We have also worked with Ministry of Health as a council to also organize house-to-house campaigns, awareness raising, in several communities, especially communities that were initially hardest hit, and Ministry of Health was supposed to go there for contact tracing, such as Bundung, or London Corner kind of, and of course Busumbala, Farato, Yundum, and of course Busumbala and Bakau, and elsewhere. So what we did was we mobilized through our regional and municipal youth committees young volunteers who were in the communities, and we are with them to orient them, build their capacities, and of course to be able to go down to the communities and households to sensitize them about COVID-19. Aside that also, I must say, we work with UNDP and Ministry of Health to also train young people, and Google Plus team in the Gambia to train some young people on Google Plus coding. And that is to say, to raise awareness on how they can generate Google Plus codes. And that is to ensure that when there are cases in their areas, they could easily send their locations to the ambulance team or to contact tracers, and they can easily spot the location than the struggle all these people had to take before they reach the location of the victims as suspected. So we had done that, and I must say, aside from that, we had also provided food items to different vulnerable households, one supported by TICA, and of course we had also worked with different actors to provide those support. We've also provided hand washing devices to all our facilities across the country, because we want to ensure that our staffs and workers and young people who use our facilities are also protected as suspected. So we have hand washing devices and facilities that we provided for them also in those communities. And this in addition to our radio programs, because we have our Children National Assembly, they were also on radio programs to sensitize people, especially children, on the dangers of COVID-19. But we also use our online platform, that is our Facebook and Twitter, to pass messages of COVID-19, how it can be prevented, and how we could all play our part in the fight against this pandemic.
That's a great thing. I guess each and every individual in this country have a role to play when it comes to preventing yourself from this virus, and also to create awareness. It is very, very important, because COVID is real. Mr. Darboe, we have seen your alleged dismissal made a whole lot of noise on social media. Both young people, home and abroad, were campaigning or with mixed feelings regarding your alleged dismissal. So, what was the reason why you were dismissed from office?
Honestly, I don't know.
You mean there was no specific reason why you were?
Not actually.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know why my service was terminated. Up till date, I didn't know, to be honest. No one said I have underperformed. No one said I have violated anyone. I don't know, actually.
According to what we heard, or according to the alleged, what we have heard so far, is you are above the age of the youth group, and people even said that you are even a par. So I don't understand, but that's what people said. So I don't know whether you will be able to justify that for us.
If you terminate someone's service and you do not provide any reason, you are opening up for people to commit speculations or conspiracy theory, you know, which is quite normal, because everybody will just think in his head, okay, what is the reason? You know, I have heard different speculations, different theories, but the reality is, on my letter, nothing has been stated as a reason for my termination. I've heard people said, or someone said, there was someone on television who said, okay, when the boat migrants from Bara, when their boat capsized, you know, we issue a statement, you know, kind of, you know, requesting that matter, government must investigate that matter. He said this was on television, and someone said we should not have done that. And someone said, okay, the guy said, okay, you are also acting. So there are a lot of speculations that come out. But again, I wouldn't rubbish any speculation, because the duty is on my employer, who's terminating my service, to give me a reason.
Right.
Failure to do that will allow people to speculate. But few of these issues, let me just say this. When the boat migrants, when the boat capsized, let's say on the coast of Mauritania, I was very shocked, I must say. And the whole country was in shock. There was different demands, there was different concerns. I received communications from people, especially our youth officer in North Bank, who was like, this is going out of hand. The main alleged perpetrator has properties, and people here are even willing to go out to protest and possibly damage his properties. At that moment, what came to my mind is, how do we actually manage these different escalating tensions that are happening across the country, especially in North Bank. Right. So I consulted my council, and the council decided to issue a statement. And I drafted a statement, shared with them, and they endorsed, and that's a statement we share. But there was nothing malicious in the statement. The statement was very straightforward. We extend condolence, you know, reassure the families and also the victims, the survivors, but again call on government to investigate the matter as quickly as possible and bring perpetrators to book, you know, and also call on young people to use the right channels when they want to travel. And call on government to increase investment in young people in the country. For me, these were legitimate concerns, legitimate demands that young people actually from the council made. So again, from there, I must say that that very evening, we took all our time personally to say, not only to mobilize stakeholders, but to ensure that there was a national response. The following day, I was at the border myself. I didn't send anyone. I was at the border with Red Cross, with my youth volunteers, and also different security agencies who were there. I must add that even the standard operational procedure at the border that was supposed to be followed, I instituted that in consultation with different actors that are on the border. Because at the time, there was need for leadership at that place, so that we can be able to ensure that how do we receive our these traumatized brothers when they come home. And I did that. That very evening, I must tell you, it was very difficult, but we had to come home by the last ferry. I was there with my chairman. We even realized that there was no plan as such to provide these young people with even transport reform. I mean, these migrant boat survivors. So we reached out to IOM, and IOM said it's a weekend, it's difficult for them to provide transport reform for these people. Can you imagine, we as a council had to come that night to arrange close to $500,000 that we had to make sure is provided to IOM the following morning as early as possible, so that they can pay these people transport when they come, and later IOM can refund us. We did all that to ensure that there is no backlash on government, that there is nothing, one, that no backlash, but two, that our young people don't come and they reach and they are all parked at one place and they don't have money to go back to their home. That will add to their trauma and frustration.
Right.
But this is our constituency. We have to go extra mile to see how we could support them. And that's what we did. And our officers were on the ground, not only to receive them, but to guide them up to where IOM is, to provide them psychosocial support and guide them through until they reach their homes. And we later had to establish Migration Information Center in Bara to help guide these young people, any one of them who wanted to travel outside, to go and verify their information about the safe routes to migrate or move out of the country, and possibly to also be counseled about their choices and how they could receive other supports in the country instead of migrating out of the country. You know. So we've done that. If I have done that, I don't see anything wrong with those things as a citizen. That's a civic duty I took. It's my mandate, legal mandate, to serve young people, and I've provided that. Again, when you talk about issues of, okay, he's old and all that stuff, if it was a reason,
yeah, why? Because they said a lot of times Gambians do not want to give chance to one another. Even in football, when we are talking about the under 17, those that will represent us will be under 38, 35.
So I would say if it's about age kind of, it's fair enough. What stops someone just to say you are old, you should go? Right. Is that too difficult to say?
No, I don't think so.
So I think it's just a speculation, you know. So it's never in my intention to say, okay, I won't leave this position. It has never been. And ultimately, whether my service is terminated or I will resign or something, I will die, but I will leave the position, you know. So, but if it is, I mean, if that is one, if it is other reason, I mean, all the speculation, there are over 10 different speculations that are coming, this is a reason, this is a reason. But people have right to speculate because there is no other reason. But I would not actually take any one of them as valid, and I will not actually, you know, throw any one of them. You know, I will just see all of them as possibilities, maybe, because I wasn't actually told this is the reason.
Yes, you're still watching the Youth Bantaba on Gambian Talents TV, and I am your host, Aisa Tukuli. Today I have the singular honor to share the same platform with Lamin Mokendo Darboe of the NYC, and he has said a very key important thing, which is his dismissal, because when he was allegedly dismissed, a whole lot of noise has been made on social media. Young people were campaigning that he has to be reinstated. And I have to ask that question. Were you behind the whole initiative, the whole campaign initiative on social media?
Yeah, I would still say a lot of people thought that was the case. But you know, those who know me will actually know I wouldn't do that. Yes, I didn't even have time for that. The reality is, the day I received my letter, it was in the evening. Okay. Had I wished to garner support from people and other stuff, I would have waited and called people and other stuff. But I didn't call anyone. No one knew it from me. Even my staff, I told them, let's keep this, you know, between us. I'm going to think over this overnight.
Right.
The following morning, I prepared my response. And as early as 9 o'clock, I delivered my response to the ministry and other stakeholders. So I wasn't waiting for people to come and talk to me or talk about me or do fight for me. I wasn't doing that. But people actually will speculate, and I'm not in control of that. What people said, all the people, even if I'm the one behind that, I'm not sure I should be able to pay all those people to say something. I don't have that money. Besides, I don't have that time. I was at my office working. If I was doing that, people will know, because they will see me on phone, they will see me talking to people and narrating. But I was at office working that day, that following day, that third day, even that weekend I was at the office working. You know, the following week I was at the office working too. So I'm not sure I have the time to, I didn't have the time or the opportunity to even talk to people.
Okay.
By the way, in fact, it was my sister who brought to my attention and said, people are talking about this on Facebook. I say, oh, I didn't actually have time to go there at the moment, you know, all throughout. So you can see I was not even, fine later I went through, I couldn't even tell people thank you, even on the post they make, or I couldn't even appreciate kind of what, with the dismissed determination of service, but of course, with all what was going around, and I have a lot of things on my decks to do at the time, you know, I had to manage a lot of pressure. There are different calls coming and all that stuff. Sometimes I even had to put my phones away just to be able to focus and do work at my office, you know. And it doesn't actually interrupt my work within that period. I was still doing my work as expected. So I think it's, people just appreciate the little I had to offer. I'm a human being. I have run some of them. You know, we have paths cross, you know, and there are others that have impressed. There are others that have, whose life I have touched. There are others who feel, they don't even know me, but they just feel it was an injustice, and they will raise their voice on it. It was as simple as that, you know. I'm grateful for their support and solidarity, but I must say that, you know, it wasn't anything that I had to even talk to. Even, I mean, even during that period, people reach out to me to talk to me, media and all that stuff. I just asked them to just allow me to finish the tax ahead on my decks at the time, you know, because I don't want it to sound as if there are other issues. But I must say that I'm really grateful for the support and solidarity, and alhamdulillah, you know, I'm been reinstated as the executive director, and all praise to Allah, and of course to the government for reconsidering that decision, and of course also to all those young people, both Gambia and the diaspora, for the solidarity, and to my parents and all the well-wishers. I think I really appreciate the support and love.
So when you were reinstated back to office, was there any reason given?
No.
There was no reason given?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you think of the Minister of Youth and Sport? A lot of young people accuse him of being nepotism and corrupt. So what's your take on that?
I want to reserve my opinion on that.
No, you want to know your opinion.
I am a public servant,
yeah,
and
but
I
we
think
still want to know your opinion as you are representing the youth of this country.
Despite, but it's too personal. If it is about the job, I have opinion. But it's about the person, I don't actually have
now
opinion
let's
on
talk
that.
about the job.
Yeah, if it is a job, yeah.
You have a very good relationship with him?
Very good relationship. Until my termination, since my termination, I'm not sure we have seen, but until my termination, I was in his office. We talk about everything and anything. We didn't have any problem.
Others claim someone that is representing the youth of this country should be a young person, not the actual minister that we are having. So what's your take on that one also?
Again, that has been an opinion for a long time. It's not just today. You know, that has been an opinion for a long time. I remember in NEC of 2012, in 2014 in summer, when young people even demanded that they need a youth ministry stand alone, and they need a youth minister, you know. You know, that has been an opinion on the table for a long period.
It seems like the government nearly listened to what we are saying or our demands when it comes to what we actually want as young people. Because at the end of the day, we demand for a whole ministry on its own when it comes to dealing with young people's matters. And also, we demand for a minister, a whole minister being of a young person, so that the person will know what we're actually feeling. The person will also know the actual dealings of how to deal with young person. But it's different, because anytime that we complain or anytime we cry, they tend to give a blind eye on that.
I would say the call for a youth ministry, I personally was in support. I think it's good. When you want to have government's priority, government's priority is manifested for me largely on the type of ministries they have. So if they have a youth ministry, they will actually say, then they'll be able to channel investment and resources.
Right.
Because as of 2014, the complaint that we are able to receive and we put forward is the fact that when the bulk of resources that are put aside for Ministry of Youth and Sport that should be invested in youth and sport development, majority go to sports.
Right.
So as a result, there's limited investment in youth. So yeah, when people were saying they need to have a separate youth ministry so that investment made for youth could reach young people. Again, if young people make a claim of having a young person to become their minister, I was in support. And again, I will say it's not for only a youth ministry to become a young person, but my advocacy or my interest, my wish will be for any government in this country to be the government, the cabinet or the executive to proportionately representatives of both young men and women. If 68.2% of our population are young people and we don't have young people in cabinet, that's not proportionate.
Okay.
That's not representative. Yeah. If you have over close to 60% of the population that are women, and you can count women, that's something fundamentally wrong. So I think the demands of those claims are legitimate, and I will actually be very proud if government consider some of those claims or some of those concerns of young people. Actually is essential. This is fundamental, not just for their empowerment, but for assuring them of that the government will continue to respond to their needs and aspirations.
I think it is important because when the whole populace of this country is constituted by the young people of this country by 68% or 67 to 68% of the
68.2.
Yes. So it means that we have to be considered, we have to be given that opportunity, we have to be empowered. But a whole lot of times it's a different case when it comes to the government in relationship with the youths of this country. So I guess the government have to consider that.
There are different, I would say, institutions or mechanisms that are put in place. There are different awareness raising program, different empowerment program.
Right.
Different activities that is building their cohesion, mobilization, organization that are taking place on the ground. From the youth organizations level to the regional youth committees to the council level and even other organizations and NGOs. But again, the ultimate objective, which has to do with representation,
right,
both in the parliament and in the executive, I think that is still a challenge and that needs to be addressed, and I think that is, for me, that is equally fundamental. I share those concerns of those young people. I share their concern.
I guess it's high time, like young people, we take responsibilities as well. And when you talk about the parliament...
When you say take responsibility, what do you mean?
Ownership.
Of
anything when it comes to development of this country, or like productivity, and also taking ownership of, I have to do this, and I have to tax myself, but also hold government accountable, because
for me, I would definitely think that there may be some gaps, but young people of this country are definitely trying.
Looking at the parliament, we need young people representing us. Like when we are saying...
But do we know this is the youngest parliament we ever had?
Yes, Omar Sisa might be the youngest.
I mean this parliament is also the youngest we ever had.
Yeah.
So for me, yes, we can still go younger than how it is. But the challenge still go back to the ones that are there to ensure that we are able to push a little harder and move forward to the next level.
I think the likes of Omar Sise, Yakumba Jete, those people are doing a tremendous job when it comes to
and they are actually moving the parliament as young people, and we should be proud of what they are doing. We are proud of them. They are actually moving. The young parliamentarians there, are quite visible, and they are pushing the agendas. And that is something we should all applaud.
Right.
Regardless, I think it's important that we, as young people, continue the crusade, the advocacy, the accountability, and the belief that no one will come and develop this country for us but ourselves.
Right.
And that will mean, again, continuing the push. Be it the local councils, be it the parliament, and of course, even be at the level of the executives. And that's why I am happy when I see young people in different political parties. I am happy. That's why I have organized training for young people in political parties. I have invited young people in political parties to NECON. People frown at it. We have been reprimanded or whatsoever for that, for inviting not only the ruling party but opposition also to NECON. I have organized training in governance, capacity building on leadership and management. And I've invited young people from political parties. Sometimes it can be messy, but we get them those places. I've organized a youth forum on policy, force youth dialogue on policies. We have done that, and we have invited all political parties, their young people to be there. The interparty youth dialogue, we also have young people there. My belief or my principle had been, if I am not an active participant in partisan politics, those that are there, it's my responsibility to build their capacities. Because they are into partisan politics, very active, they are going to be our councillors, they are going to be our parliamentarians, and potentially become our ministers. If I don't build their capacities, they will not become good councillors, ward councillors, neither will they become good parliamentarians, or even become good cabinet ministers if they have the opportunity to become. So become a responsible to build their capacities. So that's not just one party, that's for different parties. The most recent was, some 3-4 months before Corona, that was around February or so, where we invited all political parties who were registered in this country. And they were trained on campaign communication, political communication. How do they do their messaging, and how do they reach people, and how do they ensure that they also respect peace, our social cohesion, and also safeguard the peace and security of this country. All parties that were registered were also there. And beyond that, we had even extended it to even youth movements who were in the country at the time, be it for the 5 years or even the 3 years just and others. We brought all of them together just to ensure that they're able to, in the same room, communicate, understand each other, and understand, divergence of view is not enmity. Right. It's not. But we all own this country. We are all shareholders to this social enterprise. So we all have our shares here. So to fix this, to develop this country, is our collective responsibility. And we must be committed and willing to do that. So that actually has been our position and my position in terms of how do we engage young people and how do we ensure that we sustain the advocacy for more youth representation at all levels of decision making.
I am glad because I have two councillors at my constituency, and they are both young people, and we are extremely working with them.
When you have that, you are lucky.
Yeah, we have.
Certainly, yes.
Right.
Congrats.
Thank you. So let's talk about your scholarship for students.
Oh, okay.
Your prestigious scholarship. So,
Thank you.
How is the feeling like when you know that you are among the very few young people in this country that are giving the opportunity to study in the United Kingdom to offer the future leaders of countries when it comes to making sure that they are being empowered, and also to make sure that they are giving the opportunity to study in the United Kingdom? Yeah.
The feeling was awesome. I was very excited,
Really?
Yeah.
And congratulations.
I was very, very happy. Thank you very much. And besides, I think it came at a time, when there are a lot of pressures and other stuff. So, it came quite timely. So I was very happy and excited. And that's why I said, I can't keep calm. I'm a achievement scholar.
Yeah. That's an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
So what's next for Lamin Darboe? Are you resigning from your position?
No, by the way, I would say my tenure at NYC, should technically end September this month.
You mean September?
Yes.
So what's the essence of reinstating you back to office?
So it's a tenure, and I was actually fighting to ensure that what was wrong is corrected. Nothing more, nothing less. Even if it is a day, I should not be terminated unlawfully. It's wrong. What is wrong is just wrong. So, you know, so I actually, when that is done, and I have my scholarship, I'll just do the little that I could within this period and peacefully, instead of in chaos and in fight or in other stuff, say thank you and goodbye until our paths cross again. I'll be going for my scholarship for sure. God willing, if God preserve me, I'm living and I'm healthy, I definitely intend to go for my scholarship instead of looking for a new tenure. I want to go develop myself and possibly come back and work with young people.
Again?
Yes, possibly. My passion is youth, and I have always dedicated it in my career through has been with young people. And I'll definitely love to continue working with them, you know, maybe in different capacities or even in my own corners. But that's something. But the feeling of actually completing my tenure and also moving out to go for further studies to build my own capacity, self-development, and come back, you know, to this country and serve this country, the feeling is definitely good.
It's amazing.
Yes, definitely.
But what's the essence of reinstating you back to office when,
because
you know,
my termination was not good.
Or is it because they want to please the young people after a whole lot of noise that they did in the campaign, then the conferences that they did, that they are not taking, or they are not giving the government what they want, that is you to go, but instead they are fighting for you to stay? It might be the case of that as well.
Well, it's all possible, but I know for a fact that the fight generally has been, what has happened was wrong, and it should be corrected. And I think that it was a fight for justice. It wasn't a fight for Lamin. Often, I think even the youth leaders who were ahead were saying that. Many just confuse it to say, okay, they're doing it for Lamin. It wasn't. Fine, I appreciate that, yes, it's a solidarity with Lamin. Lamin is at the heart, at the center of all this chaos. But the fight is, let's follow the due process. Let's just do the right thing.
Right.
And we all move. Nobody is born to be in one place or one position all his life and all throughout. That's not my wish. If you are praying that for me, you're not praying well for me. You know, but let's do what is right. Let's follow the due process. Let's do what the rules dictate instead of doing something different. You know, that will not take this country anywhere. And I think that has been the fight of even the young people. You know, that let justice take its course, reinstate Lamin.
Right.
You know, so, but I must say definitely, you know, that it's heartwarming to feel, you know, such a solidarity. I wasn't expecting it, to be honest, but I wasn't surprised to be so. I wasn't surprised. I knew for a fact that I have gone length and breadth of this country. I have worked weekends, I have worked nights, you know, I have forfeited my holidays, you know, to serve these young people in different, to make myself available to them, and not just their functions, but their personal life, to talk to them. You know, I feel I belong there, and I continue to provide myself, make myself available to them. So when they come out to say, you know, we won't allow this to happen to you, I wasn't surprised. Yes.
So what's your advice to the young people and also the government of the Gambia with regards to young people of this country?
My advice to government, to myself, I mean council and government, is to prioritize young people. Prioritize young people in policy formulation, prioritize them in resource allocation, and I mean in the investments, you know, and prioritize them in engagement. They form the largest majority. They are going to decide what happened to the economy of this country, or they are already deciding that, and they are going to decide what become a social norm, you know, in this country, because they are the majority. You know, they are also going to decide actually who the political landscape of this country. because they are majority, and majority of them have voters cards too.
Right.
So they should be prioritized. To young people, I would say, you know, the belief and, you know, and the responsibility we have taken to develop this country, to commit our lives and ourselves to this country must continue. And to believe that nobody, no one will fall from the sky or from other country to come and develop this country for us. And nobody is actually giving us charity, not National Youth Council, not government, not NGOs or any other person. You know, we are citizens of this country, and we actually have rights that need to be fulfilled. We should continue to do our part, you know, to ensure that we contribute towards its development. But we need to also continue to demand what we feel or believe rightly belongs to us, and what we also think that haven't gone right, and we need to correct it. Right. One thing is certain, you know, sooner or later, you know, it's the young people who will become parents and leaders of this country. And today we have young people who are in the street as vendors. We have young people who are working in government as public officials. We have young people in uniform as police officers, as military, as immigration. You know, we have young people as activists, as civil society, members of civil society organizations. We have young people as journalists. You know, we have young people as drivers. We have young people as healthcare workers, as teachers, as nurses, you know, as musicians. You know, you name them.
Right.
So we need to utilize the power of solidarity to ensure that we are able to push the agenda of young people, especially when it comes to issues of unemployment or injustice. The fact is that it's not written on anyone's forehead that you are a nurse, you are a doctor, you are a policeman, you are a military man, or you are a journalist. What people first identify you is you are a young person.
Right.
So if there are favorable policies on young people, you are affected. If there are unfavorable policies on young people, it affects you and your siblings. So we need to continue to better organize, we need to continue to show solidarity, and we need to continue to advocate for what we think is best for us to help us fulfill our potentials as citizens of this country.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. And well, viewers, that's all we have for you. And Lamin said a very key and wise words to you all watching as of now. As young people, we have to be creative. As young people, we have to take ownership and also work in a collective way. Together, we can obviously or definitely make sure this country will develop when it comes to certain areas that we are lacking behind. To be honest, I don't believe it when people say that young people are lazy.
No,
I don't think so. A whole lot of young people in this country are not lazy.
No, young people are not even lazy.
Good.
They are not lazy. You know, I think the interview is finished, but I give an analogy. If any time you sit down, you pass a group of young people sitting at the ghetto, you say to yourself, these people are lazy. They are the one responsible for underdevelopment. You pass with your Pajero, or you pass with your Prado, or you pass with your whatsoever vehicle. Those young people are also there. They are also pointing at you and said, these public officials are the one responsible for underdevelopment. They are the corrupt one. They are the ones stealing our money. So in as much as you blame them, call them lazy or sitting there doing whatsoever you think, they are also blaming you for stealing their future.
Right.
So, and I must say that those are the few. The majority of our young people in this country are breadwinners. They are. They are either in school, they are either in the bush even trying to fetch firewood or even charcoal and so they make ends meet, or they are in the streets selling, trying to make ends meet, or they are in the markets selling, or they are in the schools teaching, or they are as nurses, or they are as doctors, or they are policemen, or other security or military, or they are working for government, or they are working for NGOs, or they are actually where they are even sitting, they are thinking of something that they will do when opportunity comes. Right. And when this opportunity not come, some of them actually will migrate and go to other places. But all of them has a dream. And the dream of, let me build a good house for my family, Let me take my mom and dad to Mecca or to Rome, and let me actually drive my own car. These are dreams. These are Gambian dreams, and we all want to make sure that this happens. And of course, there are guys or ladies, they also want to get married and settle down. They can't do this without the opportunities. So let's see how we provide these opportunities for them than thinking they are just lazy. They are not.
It definitely needs to be looked into. And well, viewers, this is all we have for you until I come in your way next week with another brilliant and hardworking young person. It might be you who's watching me as of now, but then until next week with another young person, being it an entrepreneur, an agriculturist, or whatsoever it is, I'll be bringing you young people, whether it's in the studio or outside the studio. Still, there are young people out there that are to be celebrated and needs to be celebrated. Until then, it was Lamin with me in our studios and on the Youth Bantaba show. Until then, do have a wonderful evening and stay safe. COVID is real. Bye-bye.
This country are lazy. What are you doing to change the status quo?